I'm going to call the meeting to order. If everyone would rise and join us for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We are missing a couple board members tonight. President Sarenbetz and Board Member Baker are not able to be with us tonight, so we have the three of us here. Can I get a motion and approval of the minutes held on 3/13/23?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. We have people here to address the school board, and all of the names that have been submitted are on non-agenda items. And so we are going to go ahead and get started. I have 8 people who are all wanting to speak on the topic of gymnastics. And so how that works is that there's a total of 15 minutes that's given. No one person can talk for more than 5 minutes. We do have a timer, and Cynthia will alert you when you get close to your time if you have that 5 minutes. Because we do have so many new faces today, I'm just going to read through our public participation at board meetings, just so everyone is aware. So this portion of the agenda is available for individuals wishing to address the board about a district-related subject. An individual wishing to address the board on a district-related issue must sign up prior to the start of the meeting with the business manager or designee, give his or her name, address, and topic about which the person wishes to speak. The speaker is limited to 5 minutes, regardless of the number of subjects the person wishes to speak or wishes to cover. Anyone addressing the board must give his or her name and address. The speaker may not give oral complaints regarding district personnel or personnel actions. Complaints regarding district personnel are to be addressed to the superintendent in private or in writing to the superintendent and board members in accordance with policy KEB-KEBR. The speaker may not offer personal attacks against any individual. The speaker may not give oral complaints identifying individual students. Complaints regarding individual students are to be addressed to the superintendent in private or in writing. The board president, at his or her discretion, may request the administration or another board member to respond to a person addressing the board immediately following the input, or may direct the administration to respond in writing. So for the first group of people that we have speaking, if you could just come up to the podium when I call your name and then just introduce yourself and tell us your home address, please. So we're going to start with Eric Van Beek.
Good evening. My name is Eric Van Beek. I live at 4500 South Yellowstone Lane in Sioux Falls. Has my time started?
Yes.
No. I'm not alone up here. My daughter is with me. She's a 7th grader at Edison, and she's a proud member of the Lincoln High School Gymnastics varsity team. May's path to high school gymnastics is not uncommon. She started gymnastics at a local club when she was 7 years old. She loved it at first, but as a familiar story goes, club gymnastics stopped being fun. The long hours, the high pressure had turned gymnastics into something that she no longer looked forward to. She started to dread it. And we were told by a friend that the high school gymnastics culture was slightly different than that. So we thought we'd give it a try, her and some friends. I cannot explain to you how happy we are that we made that decision. It's truly amazing what this program has done for her. She walked in that program nervous and shy and came out confident, proud, and extremely happy. There were many aspects of this program that had such an effect, but easily the key factors were the team and Coach Les Coyne. The team aspect of high school gymnastics is what makes it so special. It's not like that in club gymnastics. The group of girls that they had cared for each other more than I'd ever seen. 17 and 18-year-old girls teaching 13 and 14-year-old girls how to support each other, how to accept each other, how to be there for each other. She's a 7th grader. She went on sleepovers for Christmas. She went got ice cream, dinner dates with juniors and seniors. It was amazing to watch this group of girls take care of each other. It was so different than anything I'd ever seen. Not then, Les taught these girls that they could love gymnastics again. He made it fun. They loved going to practice. They loved going to meets. They loved their teammates, and they loved their coach. All of these life lessons were amazing. And at the same time, they excelled more at this sport than they ever had in years. they actually recruited 3 more gymnasts. These are 14-year-old girls recruited 3 more gymnasts to join the team next year because of how much they loved it. These girls have spent years working on their gymnastic skills. If this sport is cut, they have very few options. It's almost impossible to jump into a new sport this late in the game after spending 7 to 10 years working on this one. The other option is to go back to club, which costs thousands of dollars a year and, as I said, lacks the culture that this program has. 4 weeks ago, the parents put on a gymnastics banquet at our own expense because of how special this team was to them and to all of us. I stood and I gave the same message to Les and the girls just to thank them for what they've done for my daughter, the difference they've made in her life. This is not hyperbole to say that this program is one of the best parts of my daughter's life. And it's truly heartbreaking to think that it might come to an end. As a father, I've seen this, and it's true. And I ask you, please do what you can to come up with a different way to cut this budget and not take this sport away from these girls. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Sophie DeGroot. And again, if you could just say your name and your address, please.
Sophie DeGroat, 4700 South Twin Ridge Road. Hi, my name is Sophie, and I am a 7th grader at Edison Middle School. This year, I was blessed with the opportunity to be on the Lincoln High School gymnastics team. I've been doing gymnastics since I was 5 years old, and have never had an experience like I had this year. I know I'm not going to be some Olympic superstar, but this gave me the chance to go out there and not be afraid to give it my all. For me, it was also not just the sport that made it awesome. It was being able to be a part of a team and having a coach who really cared. In club gymnastics, it's all about being the best and beating everyone. In high school, I really learned how to be a part of a team. Girls gave encouragement before you competed. They cheered you on during your routine and gave high fives straight afterwards. In high school gymnastics, my coach encouraged me to do skills I never imagined I would be capable of. I never found myself dreading going to practice like I sometimes used to in club gymnastics. When I found out that they were most likely going to cut gymnastics, it broke a piece of my heart because this sport and this team was really my happy place. I don't want myself or any of my teammates and future teammates to have to quit this sport because they don't have the option to come have fun at high school gymnastics. Last time I was here, we were fighting for the same reason that we are here for today, except last time I had no idea what I was really fighting for, and this time I know exactly. Cutting gymnastics would be so much more than just cutting gymnastics. It would be cutting opportunities for new friendship, newfound confidence, and learning in the most supportive environment I've ever been in. I don't know much about how budgeting and all that stuff works, but I know that there must be a better way to do this than taking a sport away from strong young women like us.
Ella Cornett. I apologize if I mispronounced anybody's name.
My name is Ella Cornett, 5909 West 53rd Street. Hi, I am a senior at Roosevelt High School. Obviously, this isn't about me since I wouldn't have been competing next year anyway. However, it has never been about me. There is no I in any sports team, including gymnastics. This is one of the many affirmations that I've learned through my sport. I could present you with all the other affirmations and benefits that gymnastics has had to offer to myself, my fellow teammates, and other student gymnasts alike, but nothing I say would be different than the benefits that any other high school sport has to offer children. So I am left wondering why the sport I, along with many others, have dedicated my life to is seen as less than. I am left to comfort my teary-eyed teammates when their identity is no longer important to their community. The activity they've poured their souls into for the past decade is suddenly rejected. Rejection of high school gymnastics is a rejection of the individuality of every single girl who participates. When we young girls were warned of our first high school heartbreak, we had never imagined it being caused by the decisions of our school district. For so many, gymnastics was our first love, and we can't comprehend the fact that a passion that has consumed our lives for so long is so easily deniable by the leaders of our community. This decision disproportionately affects the less fortunate who can't afford to participate in the club, and this decision disproportionately affects females. Not only singling out, but eliminating a female sport is something we do not allow. Everyone deserves to experience what has undoubtedly created the best and most influential moments of my life, high school gymnastics. I, along with all other young women present today, would do anything to save my sport, and I beg you to please consider. Seeing as we all use the skills gymnastics has given us on a daily basis, such as confidence, strong mindset, humility, I predict this is a loss we would never get over. All I request is that you understand how special gymnastics is to so many people, all of whom I'd consider to be members of my family. As we move forward with tough decisions concerning the athletic department, we must consider how they align with the district's clearly outlined values. I'd like to remind you of the athletics vision statement in one of its guiding principles as stated on the Sioux Falls School District website, quote, "It is the vision of the Sioux Falls School District athletics program to reach 100% of our student body to be involved in a meaningful interscholastic athletic activity. By providing diverse and equitable programming opportunities for student involvement, students will be more engaged in school, confidence will build, and student achievement will rise," end quote. I couldn't agree more. And as it relates to this situation, cutting gymnastics will certainly do the opposite of increasing opportunity and athletic participation. With this in mind, I surely hope for the school district to fulfill the documented promises they have made to my community. Thank you.
Les?
Hi, my name is Les Coyne, Vice President Reader, members of the board, Dr. Saban. My name is Les Coyne. I live at 5308 West 56th Street in Sioux Falls. I'm currently the head coach at Lincoln and Washington. I hope you don't mind, but I brought a few of my friends here for support today. I would like to thank everyone who came here today and their support and the support they've given on social media. I'm sure you're wondering why they all came across the state today to be here, because if we cut gymnastics in Sioux Falls, it's only a matter of time before the rest of the state cuts gymnastics as well. The decision you will be making about the Budget Committee's recommendation to cut gymnastics is being watched closely by all schools in the state that offer gymnastics. I'm not here today. I'm just here today to help save the sport in Sioux Falls, but also the sport in the state of South Dakota. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today about the fate of gymnastics in the public schools. I'd like to start by reading a quote from Dr. Saban. "There are no limits on how far we can go when we learn together. We strive to create the very best experiences for every person in our district so we can become the very best in the nation. Less than 6 months ago, I begged this district, this board, and I asked you to come together. After this year's gymnastics season, I asked that we bring the coaches, the parents, the gymnasts, the district to find solutions on how to keep gymnastics in the 4 public schools. We have solutions. We need to be asked, we need to be listened to, and we need to be consulted. Unfortunately, that meeting was never set up. My goal in this few-minute speech is that we learn together. And the public will learn the truth about the numbers that the members of the board are emailing out to the people who have sent in emails about gymnastics. I have no problem with you sending your copy and paste response to all these emails you've gotten, but I do have a problem with that you did not give any reason why these numbers are the way they are. And maybe the district didn't give you that. Maybe they didn't give the school board or the budget committee the truth about those numbers. I'm about to break down why these numbers are the way they are. In 2019-2020, the number of gymnastics was 60, participants was 63. This was the last year for middle school gymnastics because the district chose to cut middle school gymnastics. Then COVID hit, and that also changed things once again for gymnastics. This summer, the district chose that gymnastics was not able to host camps. That cost me 4 gymnasts alone. In 2021, the number of gymnasts were 38. This was the COVID year. We were told by the district that each team had to limit the number of gymnasts. Not only did we have to limit our numbers, the district told us that all 3 teams would be practicing at Lincoln. Eventually, Roosevelt did end up at their own school, and the district did not offer busing to any of these teams. This was detrimental to the Washington team, as most of the gymnasts were unable to get transportation as their parents were working, they didn't have cars, etc. Plus, the gymnasts had to pay for their own gas to get to and from gymnastics. This is all despite head coaches' attempts to find solutions for this issue. In 2022-2023, the number of gymnasts were 44. This year, the district told us that we're all going to be going to a club. We all know that story. We got that resolved. Everybody went back to their practicing in the school. Lincoln and Washington practiced together, and Roosevelt and Jefferson practiced together. Less than 6 months ago, this district and this board was looking at signing a $200,000 5-year contract with a club in town. And now we're sitting here talking about cutting that sport. These are the hurdles that the district has put in front of our gymnasts over the past few years, and they have told not told you or the public about them. They cut middle school gymnastics, cut busing, making teams travel to different schools for practices, no summer camps, not buying equipment for Jefferson, wanting to move gymnastics to a club, and now they want to cut the sport. These hurdles put in place by the districts has had a huge effect on gymnastics and our ability to get new gymnasts, to get new coaches. Now the district wants to use those numbers that they are involved with over the past 4 years to get rid of this sport. Those numbers are a direct effect of what the district has made decisions about gymnastics, not by the parents, not by the gymnasts, and not by me. If you look at the numbers in gymnastics by school, you will see that the only school, Lincoln, is the only school that had good numbers every year. Why is that? Because gymnasts did not have to travel to and from practices, proving that taking gymnastics out of the school cost us gymnasts. Another reason we're given why gymnastics is looking at being cut is because the highest cost per athlete. I'm not here to argue with you about that finding. I'm here to tell you that even if you get rid of gymnastics, there will always be a sport that's the highest cost per athlete. So are you going to get rid of that sport next? I would like to read to you the vision statement about the Sioux Falls School District athletics. It is a vision of the Sioux Falls. Okay.
Thank you. I have 4 more speakers and we have 2 minutes and 45 seconds left just to check in. I have Ashley Claiborne.
Hi, I'm Ashley Claiborne. I live at 2017 South Blauvelt. I competed for Roosevelt High School Gymnastics for 5 years. I've judged the sport with many judges in the room for 2 years, and then most recently was an assistant and head coach at Washington High School for 5 years. I sent a lengthy email last week, but I want to focus my time today on 2 points: the numbers for participation and the effect that this could have on the Sioux Falls region as a whole. From my high school team, over half of the girls that I competed with are currently involved in coaching at other programs throughout this state. And more importantly, many of them were motivated by mentors they met specifically in the sport of gymnastics to continue their career in education. So without high school gymnastics in the largest district of our state, I'm concerned and fear that those connections to education will be lost and have a negative impact on the Sioux Falls region entirely. Secondly, the participating numbers from the past season do not reflect the reality of the interest in this sport. When I was coaching during my last season of 2020, I had 24 girls on the Washington High School team and a combination of 13 Patrick Henry and 75 Whittier Middle School participants in our middle school program that no longer exists. This is a feeder program into our high school competitive sports. To my knowledge, that was a record high year from talking to some of the other middle school coaches that we have. There are multiple reasons why this past year was lower numbers than average, but I would also agree with Les that most of those reasons relate to the lack of transportation and combining the schools and without that middle school program as our main feeder. Please consider other areas to reduce spending before eliminating this gymnastics program entirely from the Sioux Falls School District. Thank you.
Okay, we have Audra Rue, and we have 35 seconds left, sorry.
All I'm gonna do, my name's Audra Rue, I'm from Mitchell, South Dakota. I'm here kind of representing the whole rest of the state. People have traveled all over. We want you to recognize that this is not just a decision in Sioux Falls.
Sorry.
We'll let you the time come back, but our policy is you have to either be a taxpayer or resident of the Sioux Falls School District. We appreciate you coming, but we'll have somebody else. Well, let me wind up the time.
So I have Maeve Botel.
Maeve Botel, 2210 South Pender Lane. First of all, I just want every gymnast in here to stand up. My name is Maeve Botel, and I'm a senior at O'Gorman. I've been involved in high school gymnastics for the past 2 years, and I've experienced more joy in this sport than I've ever experienced before. High school gymnastics gives so many girls like me the opportunity to do gymnastics while they are also involved in other activities at school.
Sorry. So that is our total of 15 minutes that we have on this topic. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. We have 3 other people who want to talk, all on different topics, so each of them will receive 5 minutes. We will start with Chad. Chad, if you could please tell us your name and address, please.
What's the total budget for your program? $96,000 a year. Does that include busing? Okay, my name is Chad Bishop. I live at 7405 South Valencia Drive here in Sioux Falls. I'm here this evening representing myself. I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize for any miscommunication related to the topic of book bans, diversity, equity, and inclusion. My speaking and presentation skills are woefully inadequate when it comes to important topics like this. It was brought to my attention that a local news publication ran a front page story with a headline that read, "Sioux Falls Schools Legislature haven't bowed to parents' requests for book bans so far." On page 4A, under the subheading book bans, there were a few paragraphs that referenced myself. Who's calling for these book bans? 3 parents collectively, Michelle Klimek, Amy Bruner, and Chad Bishop. On the same page, there's a direct reference to the statement made by myself. Other parents include Chad Bishop, who has long sought answers to the district's stance on diversity, equity, and inclusion during public comment time. Bishop, a member of the local Moms for Liberty chapter, questioned in a September 13th, 2021 board meeting why his daughter's teacher read the book Anti-Racist Baby by Abram X. Kendi to the class. Bishop had asked the board about this incident multiple times since then, saying Kendi's work indoctrinates his daughter in a fight against white supremacy and called the book propaganda. The way this is presented, one might infer I do not oppose white supremacy, or maybe that I actively support it. Please note, as the video record will attest, I gave the statement in question to this body wearing the face of a brilliant African-American economist, historian, and philosopher, Thomas Sowell from the Hoover Institute at Stanford. Speaking of propaganda, have we discussed how one method of propaganda is to omit certain information that might not be supportive of a preferred narrative? In addition to providing the usual access to my pre-written statement, I'm sorry the overhead isn't working or you could follow along, I had prepared, took the YouTube video off the site and added the text alongside. The quote from that is, from that statement on that date, "So I would suggest that the second book, Anti-Racist Baby, is an example of the first book, Propaganda, and that it uses a technique presenting a false dilemma, a logical fallacy to my elementary school-age child in order to plant seeds and indoctrinate her in the fight against white supremacy," with a note saying, "Sarcasm deleted." I'm not asking you to ban this book. I'm asking you to teach our children to recognize it for what it really is, propaganda. A seasoned journalist might have asked, why is white supremacy in quotes? Or what does the subtext sarcasm deleted mean? Or maybe just use the exact quotation I gave when I was asked directly about my concerns via Facebook Messenger. $86,000 a year? When is it time for the Sioux Falls School District to maybe cut administrative staff? When is it time, instead of 50 or 100 families suffering, when is it time that the administration maybe cuts?
Chad, we had 15 minutes for gymnastics and you signed up on a different topic. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to stay on your topic. Thank you.
Hey, Chad, this is the journalist. I'm just catching up on a school board yesterday since I was out and listened to your comments. Where was Anti-Racist Baby read in the district? And what is the issue you take with it exactly? Hi, apologies, I'm rarely on Facebook, name redacted, school name redacted. Babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There is no neutrality. It is a false dilemma fallacy, I tell the reporter. If you must be anti-racist or you're racist according to Kendi, you must then accept the premise I addressed yesterday. This date was August 22nd of 2022. If you could see the overhead, you could follow along. The only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. And the only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. That's Ibram X. Kendi's definition of how to be an anti-racist. To be clear, I perceive this gentleman as a grifter who profits from racial division and dividing us along racial lines, if that's clear for the reporter. Is Candy's anti-racist discrimination the type we see when teachers in Minneapolis are selected for termination by the color of their skin in the name of equity? When I ask, what does the Sioux Falls brand of diversity, equity, and inclusion look like, I'm asking, will you just openly discriminate based on race, gender, political affiliation, like those who use the same words in their policies in districts around the country? Will the Sioux Falls brand of diversity, equity, and inclusion look like what we witnessed the last week when a judge was denied the right to speak at Stanford Law by the dean and acolytes of diversity, equity, and inclusion, crushing free speech at that institution? Cull this poison from your policies and your administrative framework. Embrace equality, merit, and colorblindness. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Amy Bruner. Amy, you also get 5 minutes. Please tell us your name and address, please.
Okay. Overhead's not working tonight. Good evening. My name is Amy Bruner, and I'm at 3420 South Alpine. The last few meetings, I have made comments related to sexually explicit books I and other parents and many of our children have found in the Sioux Falls Public School libraries. My children have been exposed to material by way of the school library and classrooms that I view as inappropriate to their age, maturity, and level of understanding. I never expected that I would have to shield my children from this level of sexually explicit material in school, and it leaves me with a deep sense of betrayal. In my previous comments, I've made it very clear that I am not asking for a book ban. I have asked for a mechanism by which I can opt my own children out of material containing content my husband and I feel is inappropriate for our children. And I am pleased to see that recently the school district has added a page and submittable Google Doc to their website that would allow us parents to opt our children out of library books of certain genres and topics that we parents define. It also gives us a space to fill in book titles that we want to have withheld from our own children at the library. Thank you for giving us that option. And just today, I had a very kind librarian take the lead and reach out to my family to discuss a book that we may or may not consider appropriate. It's awesome, and that took guts for her to do that. I appreciate it. I have also been made aware that the school district is setting up some type of library oversight committee or advisory committee. I don't know the details. I understand that teachers are being asked to volunteer for that committee, and I think that's excellent. Parents should also play an important part in that committee, and I would ask that you please let me know how parents are being included in that committee and how a parent might volunteer or be selected for that committee. I have a couple of thoughts the committee should consider. While it is a step in the right direction, providing parents an opt-out form for specific titles does not necessarily solve the issue entirely. Every year, many new books are brought into the libraries and classrooms, and parents should be made aware of the new materials being added to the library collections. I would like to ask that lists of any new library materials that are acquired by schools and made available to students be communicated to parents. There's also the matter of classroom libraries. There is no tracking mechanism or catalog for the materials my children have access to in classroom libraries. I think most books in the classroom libraries are probably just fine, but sometimes things slip through the cracks, and this should be a topic of discussion for the committee. Finally, there is the matter of the Sora online library. It is very easy for books that are checked out on school Chromebooks to slip right past parents. Chromebooks often don't even come home with students. And I reserve the right to be wrong here, but I believe that parents may not be able to individually limit access to certain titles or authors for their students through the online or digital library. Digital access to reading materials needs to be examined because I know that my children this school year have had access to books like Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe, which is rated as a 4 out of 5 on the website ratedbooks.org. which says that the book contains obscene sexual activities and sexual nudity. The rating scale is a 0 through 5 rating scale, and it's going to be similar to your ratings for movies. Also available to middle school level students was The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, which is rated 4 out of 5 by booklooks.org for its explicit sexual activities, including sexual assault and battery, prostitution involving minors and adults. Am I done? No, okay.
That's not
Sorry.
my one. That's somebody else's. Sorry.
Explicit violence. I thought I timed it better. Explicit violence and mild profanity. These types of books are not appropriate for my children. And I get it. Other families may feel differently. Families should have choices in matters related to sensitive topics like sex. I know you are making some steps in that direction, and for that, I thank you. Please take to heart that I and many other parents would really like to be part of the conversation on how to best provide transparency and choice for all families in the district while upholding and respecting parental rights. We are here for the conversation, and we hope you will reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker tonight is Michelle Klimek. If you could just tell us your name and address also, please. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Michelle Klimek, 4401 East Harwood Circle, 57103. I'd like to thank the Washington librarian who recently reached out to me. I believe our conversation was productive. She was receptive to suggestions and my request to restrict my child's access to material that does not align with our family values or how we address certain topics. My son, who often visits the library, has always spoken highly of her, always. She has made a lasting impression on him, and I am grateful for that. I want to thank all those involved with updates made to the library services page found on the district's website. I understand it will take time to work through issues that have and are expected to arise. Allowing parents an opt-out option strengthens the parent-school relationship, and I appreciate that team effort. My main focus has always been parental rights, always. Recently, Moms for Liberty co-founder Tiffany Justice testified in Congress. I'd like to share a quote, and I believe the majority would agree with her statements. Quote, "Parents have the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children. That includes their education, medical care, morality, and religion. I want to be clear, these are inherent natural rights. Parental rights do not stop at the classroom door." I am encouraged conversations will continue with all of us involved. Open dialogue is a good thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. At this point, we are going to continue with our regular agenda. So if there are any people who do not want to stay for that, you can certainly leave at this time. Yeah. We'll give you a second to leave if you'd like. Yeah, thank you.
Do you have rotator cuff?
I have cartilage floating around.
She's trying to get it to. And the one
Him came, stood by Danielle, left when they were done. Well, like,
She's kind of like her.
and I can't be back to October.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approve, opposed, same sign. That motion passes.
You or Cynthia? You moved it. You or Cynthia? No, I just couldn't hear when I was up there adjusting that thing, which is backwards.
The one I was thinking was isn't here. It was the old lady that usually did them. Oh, the one I was thinking of, I should say. Not, she might be here, the one that pulled it. Yeah. Oh, maybe she left. We have another male version.
We're going to ask everybody to just try and move out as quickly as possible
Maybe not talk.
so that we can continue the business of the board.
Come this way.
Next, we will have the good news report.
Good evening. Our good news report comes from a partnership between the Sioux Falls School District and the Department of Defense. Donna Van Veldhuizen will be sharing about Starbase, a Department of Defense youth program that many of our students participate in throughout the school year. This program is intended to inspire and motivate students to explore STEM as a pathway to their future. At this time, Donna has joined me at the podium and we'll talk about Starbase. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So hi, nice to see you again. I am the director of Starbase here in Sioux Falls. We have 4 Starbase locations throughout South Dakota. 2 of them focus on rural and reservation communities, and 1 focuses on Sioux Falls area and 1 the Rapid City area. So I'm speaking on behalf basically of the Sioux Falls program because that is what serves our Sioux Falls School District students. So we've had this wonderful partnership with the Sioux Falls School District since 1994. Many of the people in Sioux Falls, especially Sioux Falls School District parents and students, aren't aware of this relationship because most of our work that is done in the schools is done with the title program and those students who are in the title program. Let me just make sure that we're going here. If you take a look at our mission and statement and our program description, in general, basically what this is saying is that students, mainly 5th graders, come to our program for a 5-day, 25-hour hands-on STEM experience. We try very hard not to call it a field trip because it is a classroom day, 5 classroom days. It's just outside of their school. Perfect. The majority of the programming we do is for 5th grade students. And as you can see, you can't see the whole document, but all of the programming that we have, all of our lessons, all of our objectives are aligned with the 5th grade South Dakota standards. They're also aligned with the national standards. We make sure that we're not just aligning them with things like math and science, but also along the lines of social studies or health, PE, because we know that so much of what we do, they're seeing in all those different areas, so we can relate it that way as well. We've had wonderful communication with the school district. Linda does such a great job of helping us make sure that we're in contact with those people that we need and working together to make this experience happen for the kids. We were allowed to come in during COVID and actually teach in the classroom, which is what our NOVA program does on the road. So we made that happen in Sioux Falls as well. Currently, we're actually let me get back to this. So we work very closely with the principals and fifth grade teachers that we work with. Child nutrition services is involved because they make sure that school lunches, the kids can order a regular school lunch and it's delivered to the Starbase program. School Bus Inc. does an amazing job of making sure students get where they need to go. And this program is free for the school district except for transportation. So we work very hard to make it accessible for all those schools that are involved. If you take a look, we have our main program is a 5-day program. Again, 25 hours of programming for these students. You can see the list of current schools. There are a few on there that are 2-day programming because if we can't fit all the sessions in, we shorten some that are no longer Title I schools. Currently, we've had about 620 students from the Sioux Falls School District, but we still have the rest of the year to go. Students come with their teacher and their entire class. They're not picked and chosen from a class. Everybody in the class comes if it is a Title I school and if their class is chosen. Another huge way that the school district has supported Starbase is right now, this year, also last year, and for another year to come, we have had space issues at the National Guard with some different building and programming things. And so we have been given classrooms at the Learning Lab on Southeast Tech campus to run our programming, and it has been wonderful. So thank you to the Sioux Falls School District for that. And then I'd just like to show, these are the faces of Starbase. These are the kiddos that are having fun learning the curriculum. It is challenging. There are sometimes kids who think, I just can't do this. It is amazing what they learn. We see these kids in the community and they come up to us and are so excited to introduce their parents. And we hope that in doing this, we inspire them to stay in the STEM fields and pursue their education, go into careers. We have added on a 2.0 program that works with students at Whittier Middle School so that we can reach them one more time. So you can see, and of course, our military, they are still getting to the military site at least one of their 5 days. And so they make sure to interact with the military to see some of this STEM in action. Okay. If you have any questions, otherwise I'd just like to say if you're ever interested in coming to visit, you can visit for a half hour, you can visit for a whole day. You're always welcome to come out and see what we're doing out there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Do you still use Ray as your call sign?
I still use Ray as my call sign, yes.
I was a lucky parent chaperone that attended Starbase a couple times, so thank you for all you do. It's an amazing program.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, we do all get call signs, and our students get call signs as well that they get to choose that relate to STEM, and that is in line with the pilots that have call signs out on the air base. So the kids think that's pretty cool, and when they go here or visit with the pilot, many times the pilot will be asking them, what's your call sign? This is mine. So thank you.
I love the hands-on nature of everything that's done, and I think that's so helpful for kids who maybe spend more of their time sitting in their classroom or maybe on just a computer, you know, doing Google Classroom or whatever it might be. And so to see them actually, like, I love the making a lava lamp and like really experimenting and experiencing science that way, I think is so important, especially at that 5th grade age. There's not a lot of science experiments that are done in the classroom and that age. So what a great opportunity for them to be able to explore some of those other things. So
it's very difficult for the regular classroom teacher to do that every day.
Yeah.
When we are teaching the same curriculum, then we can make all of that available all day long because we're doing those similar things every day with each group. So we are glad that we can provide that for the kids.
Yes, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, we have no new conflicts of interest. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. And we are on to number 10, the supplemental consent agenda. Can I get a motion on 10A, a motion and a second for claims to Avera Healthcare?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. And 10B, approval of claims to Sanford Healthcare. A motion and a second, please.
Motion.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, and that passes with one abstention from myself. And now we are on to the reports of the superintendent.
Yep, 2 reports this evening. The first representing a hefty body of work by many people that's coming to a close now with decision and moving forward with an implementation. Dr. Boyson will cover that. And then Mr. Veek will do a brief legislative wrap-up now that the session has officially ended. I believe, is it tomorrow, the last, is it today?
Yeah.
Last day. So we'll cover that as well. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Boyson.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me tonight. It was a great kickoff with Donna and Starbase and leads right into our science report. That's always a great opportunity at Starbase when our students get to go out there. I experienced that as a 5th grade teacher, taking my kids out there a long time ago, and it was fun to see all those school names up there. So it's a great opportunity for students. Tonight I bring you the K-12 Science Curriculum Adoption Report. It follows through on our academic success priority area, and we have worked for the last 2 years on this curriculum adoption study to bring the best information forward for you to recommend for our students. So the Sioux Falls District Science Adoption aligns with the South Dakota Board of Education and Next Generation Science Standards. The standards emphasize that science is not just a series of isolated facts. This awareness enables students to view science as interrelated world of inquiry and phenomena-based rather than static set of science disciplines. The Next Generation Science Standards represents a fundamental shift in science education, requires a different approach to teaching in science than in the past. And as we look ahead, teachers use a range of strategies to engage students and create opportunities to demonstrate their thinking and learning. The science curriculum study began the fall of 2020 as the K-12 steering committee. Teachers, administrators, parents, community members met several times throughout the year to develop the vision, mission, and goals to guide that curriculum study. And there's our K-12 vision statement that was created, and our mission statement, and our K-12 science goals. And really those goals are problem-solving strategies. We want to make sure they ask questions, define problems, develop and use models, planning and carry out investigations using appropriate tools and technology. They're able to analyze and interpret data, use math and computational thinking, and construct explanations and design, and then engage in arguments from the evidence obtained from evaluating and communicating that information. I'll go through next each one of the areas and the teams that, the work that they completed and their recommendations by level. So at elementary, an elementary student has a naturally inquisitive mind and approach to science. This wonder and joy for learning should be nurtured by investigating scientific phenomena and real-world problems, where students wonder, question, and engage in experiments, create arguments, and justify their thinking utilizing that inquiry-based science model. In the spring of 2022, a group of elementary staff members gathered to begin the process of engaging in the science study. The team established the goals, and they wanted to find a program that would engage our students in that phenomena-based hands-on learning with comprehension, instructional resources, and lessons that are transferable to real-world situations. and those cross-curricular instruction that would be connected to their other content areas. The committee selected Amplify Science, a K-12 curriculum that blends hands-on learning, literacy-rich activities, and interactive digital tools to empower students to think, read, write, and argue like real scientists. Amplify Products is aligned to the South Dakota standards reflective of the 3 dimensions of learning and incorporates quality instruction materials and resources. And that's their recommendation. And here's their unit of studies that align by grade level. And we have a picture here of a little kindergarten friend after they finished a project. And she said, I don't just like it, I love it. And she was really engaged in that learning and just really wanting to continue on. And that's what we want to create with our learners, is that they ask the questions, they explore, they try, they problem solve. It doesn't work, they come back at it like a real scientist. And that's elementary. As we move on to middle school, the middle school level committee recommends the middle school courses be offered in 2 pathways aligning to the 3 dimensions and covering the depth and breadth of the South Dakota State's science standards. The committee recommends maintaining the traditional pathway consisting of earth science in 6th grade, life in 7th, and physical science in 8th grade. Most students follow this pathway through middle school and enter high school with a sound foundation in science and have ample time to take courses that meet the science graduation requirements. Students meeting academic requirements and administrative recommendation have the option of a second pathway, which allows students to earn the culminating credit of high school biology in 8th grade. On this pathway, 6th and 7th grade students participate in an accelerated science course. The priority standards for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are covered in an integrated approach over 2 years. Students will then participate in high school biology in 8th grade, including the fall and spring semester exams. And you can see that outline there and I highlighted high school biology because that was a new pathway that was added a few years ago, and this year we have 327 students in high school biology in 8th grade. The committee recommends the Houghton Mifflin Dimension suite of resources that offers a balance of online and print resources for teachers and students along with a consumable write-in textbook. The committee found the HMH Dimensions resource to provide the best alignment and required 3 dimensions of the science standard in a manner that's accessible to all students. For the accelerated pathway, that committee recommends STEM scopes by Accelerate Learning resources for 6th and 7th grade integrated courses. And then HMH Accelerate Learning also offers the Spanish edition, allowing Spanish immersion courses to use those identical resources. The honors program will continue to use FOSS web resources and Project Lead the Way to meet the earth, life, and physical science standards required at grades 6 through 8 to layer the additional challenges of STEM into the curriculum. And students participating in the high school biology course in 8th grade will use the high school biology curriculum. We also have the newcomer program, and that program is for students who arrive to the country at any time in middle school and fall within the English proficiency guidelines. They participate in the newcomer program for 1 year. This program includes science courses that builds background knowledge in academic science vocabulary, emphasizing the essential 6th, 7th, and 8th grade standards. The committee recommended moving forward with Cengage, exploring science materials as a base resource and supplementing with Cengage Big Idea books to ensure each essential standard is covered. That is middle school. On to high school. High school science students use critical thinking, ask questions, test ideas, evaluate scientific evidence and explanations, understand the nature and development of that knowledge, and participate in laboratory experiences. Teachers in the high school science study work to develop robust courses that provide opportunities for students to engage in learning that stimulates their interest in science and prepare them for success in their college careers. All high school students must earn biology credit and 2 or 3 additional science credits for graduation to meet the graduation requirements. The number of science credit a student needs is determined on which endorsement they would like to receive, and you can see that table on the screen. And that follows with that, the changes to the high school graduation requirements a few years ago. The high school committee created The high school committee met, reviewed the curriculum, and created 3 new courses that included real-world science, forensics, and earth science, and basics of the human body, which was initially piloted at Washington High School, that will be now at all 4 high schools. And I highlighted those on the screen. So those are great new opportunities for students at the high school level. Common district assessments are for biology, chemistry, and physics, and the study committee members also updated these assessments and wrote common district assessments for all science courses at the high school level. The science committee members reviewed and piloted textbook resources through the fall of 2022 to determine the best materials to align with the 3 dimensions of science standards, and made their recommendations. Secondary special education is also a part of the curriculum study at middle and high school level. Middle school special education teachers chose HMH Dimensions as a curriculum resource for students with more significant learning gaps. By aligning the grade level resources, students have the opportunity to be integrated into the general ed science courses. Students with disabilities at the high school level are offered various opportunities to learn the necessary credits to graduate. These opportunities include a combination of general education and RISE programming options tailored to the unique needs of the students determined by their IEPs. Students with disabilities require supportive coursework and will use attained materials as well as hands-on materials and accessibility tools to promote scientific understanding, as well as embedding opportunities to develop that independence and employability skills for successful transition to adulthood. So when you look at educating 25,000 students, and we look at the curriculum that's needed to do that, at elementary, we have 487 science teachers. At middle school, we have 51 science teachers and 13 different courses. At high school, we have 72 science teachers and 20 different courses. And so the budget for the recommended science adoption is listed. The cost for the adoption provides the curriculum materials and online access for 7 years for 25,000 students and all those different classrooms at those levels. So we have 1,700 additional students from the last time we had the adoption. We have 2 new schools. We added middle school biology and 4 additional high school courses. Committee participation, when we look at that, we had our K-12 steering committee, we had the elementary curriculum, middle school and high school study committees, and the special education committee. So all members included, we had 162 different members in those committees, serving to help select those resources to make sure that we pick those best supports and develop the curriculum to serve all our students. So in summary, the elementary, middle, and high school instructional level subcommittees under the guidance of the K-12 steering committee reviewed the South Dakota science standards in preparation for the study. The proposed K-12 science curriculum aligns with these standards and will support teachers in developing scientifically proficient students by applying knowledge and deep understanding. The K-12 steering committee, grade level committees, curriculum council, and administrators and science teachers have viewed, recommend the proposed instructional materials. Professional development is also included as part of this adoption and will occur during the summer through 2023 and the back to school session and throughout next year. And with that, I'll stand by for any questions and ask for approval of the curriculum adoption.
I asked you this question before too, but I think it's important for the public to know. So under South Dakota assessments, we test our students at 5th, 8th, and 11th grade on science. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I think that's important to know too. Social studies is not tested at any level.
No.
And then this is at 5, 8, and 11, and then ELA and math are what grade levels?
3 through 8 plus 11.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when we were talking about this earlier, I'm excited about the forensics class. And I know that several high school students were excited about that as well. And it was piloted, I believe, at Jefferson last year. And so now the fact that more students have the opportunity to take that. I know personally my daughter's not a big science fan, so she'll take what she needs to, but then being able to take other classes like an astronomy class or a forensics class or something and not feeling like, well, if I don't take AP, I don't have anything. Right. So I think it's great that we have these classes that really can engage people in different ways, and maybe they'll never get to take another class like that. They maybe watch CSI, or they might watch, you know, these different crime scene courses or TV shows, and so now they can actually kind of have an understanding of probably the reality of how that doesn't work on TV. But again, just another option for them to learn and still have that science background and something that's useful to them. So I love the additions to the course offerings.
Thank you.
I concur.
Good, thanks.
Any other comments? No, if not, if I could get a motion to approve the K-12 science curriculum adoption for the 23-24 school year.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you notice, there are community members and parents on these committees. How can people just put their interest into the district? Is that how you're typically wanting those type of participation, or do you seek experts in that area from those people?
I'll ask that to Dr. Boyson.
Yeah. So on our curriculum website, on the website under curriculum services, we do have those applications out there. So right now we're taking applications to be, for people to be involved in our social studies study that will start next year. So yes, it is available for any of those committees, for parents, community members to be involved in that.
Good question. All right, next we have the wrap up for the legislative session.
Yeah, thank you. As we mentioned earlier, the 2023 session ended today with veto day. For the district, we kind of watch, one of the biggest things we watch, of course, is state aid and education funding. So there was we ended up with a 7% increase in both state aid formulas, the special ed and general fund formulas. The governor had proposed 5%. The legislature increased it to 7%. And the governor signed the bill on that. Usually, in what's locked into state law is 3% inflation, whichever is less, but in a year they may or may not go over that. So they did that today. The governor proposed above that, obviously, with the 5%, and the legislature increased it. That's nice. Inflation is based on what happened last fiscal year, so the legislature knows what it has coming in to session. So we already know what inflation was last year. That was 7.9%. So the 7% increase was much more in line with that rather than 3%. Now we also kind of compare see where we sit in the total budget for the state. We've done that since 2017. And so for comparison, the state general fund increased 15.6%. And you can divide that state general fund into roughly a third, and a third. State aid is a third of that. That increased 6.1%. It's a little less than the per student amounts because you're mixing property tax years and you're also adding or maybe decreasing slightly in students statewide. So there's a combination of that where the two numbers never match up. So that increased 6.1%. The Medicaid agencies, Human Services and Social Services increased 22.4%. We know we had that increase in Medicaid was passed by the electorate last time we voted. So that was part of that. And the rest of the state grew 18.3%. So the increase in state aid was certainly not aligned with any of the rest of the increases that were going on. Since FY17, that was the first year of the half-cent sales tax where education was increased across the state about 9.1%. They've targeted teacher salaries, and so to raise the targeted teacher salaries, so we keep track of what the increase has been since then, so we know where that kind of should be going. The last 2 years has been very marked. We've had market increases the last 2 years because of inflation, and last year we got 5%, this year 7%. So it really took off. It was pretty slow going for the first several years since 2017. So since 2017, there's been a 23% total increase. It's about 3% average per year. and that nearly doubled in the last 2 years. So that's kind of where we're at funding-wise since 2017. In addition to the general appropriations bill, we tracked 57 bills, and we considered 4 of them key bills. We supported 3 of those key bills, and 2 of the 3 that we supported were proposed by our school district. And then there was Senate Bill 24, which became the funding bill, so we made that a key bill as well and supported that. So of the district's proposed bills, we had 1122, which would have allowed 10th graders to participate in the state dual credit program. And because I said would have, you can probably figure out what happened. That bill failed. House Bill 1123 was also ours, and it will allow school boards to opt for 2 or 4 year terms instead of a 3-year term, so that they can align they can get on even numbered years, and they can align their elections with others, which we do an even number year with the city. And that bill passed and was signed by the governor. And then the 4th key bill we opposed, it was House Bill 1234. It would have provided vouchers for students attending private schools. That bill failed. So that's our brief wrap up of the session. We'd ask you to acknowledge the report on the 2023 legislation as presented. I'll stand by for questions.
Thank you. So I think it's important because I think there was some question and rhetoric that the education was getting more than the other big 3 as they're called in the state. And from that presentation, it sounds like we did not. In fact, it was less than.
No, we typically don't grow as much as the rest of state government. The state salary policy went up for state workers went up 7%, and then on top, so that they moved their whole, what we would call a schedule. They moved their schedule 7%, and on top of that, there was about another 2.5% for targeted increases. So that was more like 9.5%. So no, we didn't get more than the rest of state government, but we're happy for the 7% we got.
Exactly.
That was fabulous.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, thank you to your team, and obviously there are numerous people involved in each of those bills and keeping us up to date on where those were at and what was going on out there. So appreciate that. Can I get a motion to acknowledge the report on the 2023 legislation as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Anything else to come before the board? No? Just a reminder that we changed dates. Oh, yes, we did change dates coming up for our work session. So our next work session will be on April 5th. That's a Wednesday, and that was going to be our normally scheduled work session. I believe initially we had said we were having one this Wednesday, but that has been moved to April 11th, which is a Tuesday. That Tuesday night, we will also have our board meeting. There is no school on Monday the 10th, which is why we're meeting on a Tuesday instead of a Monday as we typically would. So we will have a work session from 4 to 5 p.m. on that Tuesday the 11th, followed by our regularly scheduled board meeting at 5:30 on the 11th. Thank you for that reminder. All right, we have, did I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
Not yet.
No. Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
I just like all